You know, ranking NBA players is always so damn controversial because if you say something like LeBron James is not top 5, you're going to have people with pitchforks and torches at your front door. So look, hey, don't worry about that though. I'm not going to say this, but this is my top 20 players over the last 2 seasons. And if they were injured the season before, what I'm going to do is just think of what they would do the season before if they weren't injured. Anyway, let's get straight into it. At number 20, we're starting with Bam Adebayo. And what I'm going to say here is this is not a prediction. This is my rankings of the players over the last 2 years and their production. Bam Adebayo wouldn't be top 20 if this was over the last 5 years, but we're doing it over the last 2 years. Bam Adebayo defensively has been great. He's improved a lot as an offensive player. I'll show you this graphic of his improvement on his mid-range game as he's shooting like 50% on pull-up jump shots in the mid-range. That's crazy. But I think one thing that people really underrate in Bam Adebayo is his resiliency. His playoff resiliency is really solid, and people think that it's not true because of one bad series he had against the Milwaukee Bucks. And number 19, I have Zion Williamson. Zion Williamson as a scorer is arguably top 5, maybe top 4 scorer in the league. Yes, his bag's not deep. He's not like Dame who'll step back and hit you on the elbow, hit you on the 3-point line. You know, I'm sounding like ball don't stop.
Guy with his handle, with his ability to create space in multiple directions with his left hand, right hand, with side steps, with step backs, with snatches, his ability to hezzy out of that.
Zion don't have that turnaround jump shot, but Zion's finishing is already all-time great. And I expect even more out of him this season as he doesn't have to deal with Steven Adams or Eric Bledsoe. I hope Zion can really be the face of the league. At number 18, I have Rudy Gobert. This is another ranking which I will get completely slammed on. But here, I'm going to start off with this. Rudy Gobert was not the reason the Jazz lost in the playoffs this year. And look, I understand. Terrence Mann dropped 39 on him, and I was talking shit to Rudy Gobert. I don't like the Jazz myself, but Rudy Gobert is an all-time great defender, an all-time great rim protector, and he is on defense. Rudy Gobert is about all you want on defense, unless you're like Anthony Davis, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jonathan Isaac. He's about everything you want on defense in a big. And at number 17, I have Trae Young. Trae Young, out of all the people that are not on my teams, my 2 favorite players are LeBron James and Trae Young. Now, yes, Trae Young, we know he has a problem with turnovers sometimes. His efficiency doesn't look great, but he also takes a lot of crazy shots. If Trae Young's shot selection was better, he'd be a lot more efficient. And also, people act like scoring is the best thing he does. Fuck no. It's his playmaking. He's arguably a top 5 playmaker in the league, and his passing is generational. His playmaking will be generational. Like, Trae Young as a point guard is amazing, but Trae Young can really like carry an offense with playmaking like Steve Nash did, and that is not even an exaggeration. His passing is amazing, and that's why he's top 17 over other guards like Chris Paul. Over the last 2 years, Trae Young to me has been better than Chris Paul. And at number 16, we have Karl Anthony Towns. Karl Anthony Towns, yes, is known for his 3-point shooting as a big. Something that is so underrated is his passing. Now, maybe I'm not thinking right, but I think the only better passing center in the game right now that is not Karl Anthony Towns is NIKOLA Jokic. And Jokic is a top 4 passer ever and has an argument for being the GOAT passer when it's all said and done. Like, if that's your only competition and you're not better than it, you're a great passer for your position. Karl Anthony Towns, as an offensive player, is also one of the best in the league. People think of his woes on defense as one thing that should take him down a tier as a player, but not to me. He's been getting better defensively, and although he doesn't have the offensive impact of, say, somebody like Jokic, his offensive impact is still so elite at the center position. And at number 15, we have Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving, he's an interesting pick on this list. The first year with Brooklyn, he was injured a lot, so he had a couple down games, but this year he just came off a season averaging upwards of 20 points, shooting 50, 40, 90. He really edged it out, but he got 50, 40, 90. His most efficient year of his career. Now he can say that, hey, I had an efficient season that was not with LeBron James, and that's one thing that you guys always hold against me. And yeah, I mean, you had it with Kevin Durant and James Harden. But look, Kyrie Irving, as in an offensive player, is amazing, and he's a very underrated passer and playmaker. At number 14, I have Paul George. He was a very, very positive player in this playoffs and had like one of the best playoff runs of his career this year, but he wasn't shooting that efficiently. He had that kind of Trae Young impact where it's like Paul George is on the court and he's shooting like pretty bad. He's not shooting well on threes, but you know that he's improving this Clippers team so much, and that's what he did this playoff. To get them to the Western Conference Finals with you being the best player on the team in the deep West, I understand there's injuries, but in the deep West, that's impressive. You also taking the Suns to 6. Paul George did a lot for this Clippers team, and I'm really proud of him for all the disrespect that he's gotten in the past couple years. At number 13, I have Jayson Tatum. Jayson Tatum has an argument at 12, but I wouldn't put him any higher than 12. Jayson Tatum, to me, is in a very locked spot. He's not worse than PG, but he's not better than Jimmy Butler to me. Jayson Tatum is amazing. Like, in the playoffs, he was really good this year. He had like a 40-point game in the playoffs or some shit. He had a 60-point game earlier this season. To me, what will make Jayson Tatum break out is becoming a better passer. Then next at 12, who I think is also in a locked position, it is Jimmy Butler. Over the last 2 years, last year I think with the bubble and what he did in that, I think we could definitely call him a top 10 player, and maybe even better than Damian Lillard last season. But this season it wasn't the same, but he's still definitely a top 15 player. I can't believe people are saying Chris Middleton is better than this man. People have also said that Drew Holiday is a better defender than Jimmy Butler, which is fucking wild. Like, that shit pisses me off. No cap, bro. Jimmy Butler, like, my second favorite player in the league, but his playmaking is so great. And people really underlooked that from him in his Chicago days. But when he was improving in his Chicago days, people were like, oh, he's becoming a 3-level scorer. Now he's shooting a 3 well. He's shooting mid-range well. He can finish pretty well. But no, one of the biggest things was his playmaking. And then at number 11, I have Joel Embiid. Like, this season, definitely a top 10 player. I can't believe people were putting him off top 10. But obviously, he was an MVP candidate when he was healthy this season. And he's playing great defense. And not only that, we got to understand that offensively, Ben Simmons is kind of holding him back. For him to put up like 30 and 11 on like 65 true shooting percentage this season is great, and I will never underlook it. Yes, obviously to me Jokic is better, and everybody should think that, but Joel Embiid is a very underrated talent and very hated on talent. But in the past couple years I have him 11. This year he's definitely top 10, but 11 for Joel Embiid I think is realistic. I think it's good. And, you know, Joel Embiid gets injured so much, I hate to see it happen. Joel Embiid, like, his scoring at a center is unicorn-like. And if we didn't have somebody like Karl-Anthony Towns or Nikola Jokic, we would marvel at it so much more. And at number 10, I have Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard to me is one of my favorite players in the league. But anyway, we know why he's up here. He had like the highest game score in the past 20 years or some shit in the playoffs. This playoffs, you know, 55 points. I think it was like 10 plus assists. He hit the record for the amount of threes made in the playoff games. And in the regular season, people don't understand how much he floor raises that offense and how he takes them to a great offense every year, even though they have some very inconsistent offensive players. Damian Lillard, floor raising that Blazers team, but he might need to get out if he's ever going to contend. At number 9, I have LUKA Doncic. Now, this year, LUKA was arguably a top 5 player. But over the past 2 years, why I have him at 9 is that his playoff production. It's not that it's bad, because it's great. His playoff production is amazing. But I say his fourth quarter stats are kind of interesting. I'll show you the fourth quarter stats he had this year. I don't hold it against LUKA because his offensive help and his defensive help were so inconsistent in this playoffs and in last playoffs too. I don't hold it against him. But I think the players above him, I have them above him because they're so great in the playoffs. At number 8, I have Anthony Davis. And before I say anything, okay, 6, 7, and 8 are very interchangeable. AD can be 6, AD can be 7, AD can be 8. They are so interchangeable. Anthony Davis is 8 to me, though. Last year, as in the bubble, you could say that he was arguably the second best player in the league behind LeBron James. One of the best power forward peak seasons ever. Like, Anthony Davis was amazing. I mean, this year he didn't follow it up with that. We understand his injuries, but it does affect ranking to me because conditioning is a part of the sport. But Anthony Davis is a generational pick and roll defender, a GOAT level one, a great rim protector. We know the things he does on defense, but on offense it's underrated how he passes the ball. His passing's pretty underrated. He averaged like 4 assists, I think, in that Lakers run to the finals. And also, his outside shot has been improving. Now, I know he shot like 21 or 26% from 3 this regular season and then shot like shit from 3 in the playoffs. But his outside shot, it might be streaky. But I think there's potential there for him to be like a 35% three-point shooter. And to be able to stretch the floor, or to stretch the floor, with LeBron James and Russell Westbrook on the floor will be integral to the Lakers team's success this year. and hopefully he can hit them. At number 7, I have James Harden. James Harden, to me, why he's not top 5 is because the amount of talent we have in this league. In many other years, James Harden would have a crack at like a top 3 player or a top 5 player, but he's not because of how fucking talented this league is. But James Harden has had some of the best seasons and also some of the best playoff runs in the past couple years, but it's not marveled at too much because he's not winning the finals. James Harden as an offensive player is like one of the best ever. He is an all-time great playmaker, the best shooting guard passer ever, one of the most efficient shooting guard players ever, and for having these like 36 and 34 point per game seasons that he did have, the efficiency in which he does it is remarkable. Because it's not that he's dropping 35 on great efficiency, because you can see some players who do that, but they have like 20 games where they drop 35. James Harden did it for like all 82, multiple seasons. So him as an offensive player is one of the best in the league. Him as a playmaker is arguably the best in the league. Him as a passer is also like top 4 or 5 in the league. James Harden is ridiculous. He's top 6 though because of the amount of talent we have in the league right now. Okay, after going off one of my favorite players, we're going to move to my favorite player, NIKOLA JOKIC. He's number 6, and you might think I'm overrating him, but the amount of offense that Jokic has shown these past couple years, he's already arguably a top 10 offensive player of all time, top 4 passer of all time, maybe GOAT if once he retires. Like, Jokic as an offensive player is so underlooked because of the things he doesn't do. He doesn't slam the basketball. That's all he doesn't do on offense. Legit. He can hit the 3. He shot really well from 3 this season and in the playoffs. He shoots really well from the mid-range. He's great in the paint. He's great at runners. He's great at floaters as being a big old center. Like, Jokic has a complete offensive game, which also the best passing in the league and maybe the best playmaker in the league. Like, bro, he is so underrated in that fact that people think Jokic is this big guy who can't play defense, but he's pretty good at offense. No, he's not pretty good at offense. He's all-time great at offense. And at number 5, I have GIANNIS ANTETOKOUNMPO. Now, number 5 sounds pretty low. This season, he was arguably the best player in the league. If not, maybe he's 2, 3, maybe he's 4. I don't know where you place him. But Giannis had an all-time great playoff run this season, and it's not like last season he had a terrible playoff run, but it wasn't something to marvel at. Now, Giannis, we know as a regular season player, Giannis might end up being the GOAT regular season player because of his resiliency on offense and defense. But why I only have him 5 is because players just been doing it better than him. That's all I'm going to say. Giannis is generational, but he's not top 4 yet. At number 4, we have Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard, in the past couple years, really went under the radar, as in like, oh, he choked against the Nuggets. That was one game. But yeah, that game was pretty bad, but he also ended up averaging like 28 and 10 on that run, shooting like above 50% from the field. This playoff run, he shot 57% from the field as a perimeter player. Kawhi Leonard, why he's so high on my list is because in the regular season, he is generally not an MVP candidate. Yeah, I mean, he makes sure your team wins games, but that's all he does. If he wins a game with 4 points, he's fine. But in the playoffs, he makes sure that he is the focal point of the offense and has done that and brought championships to teams. So Kawhi Leonard is the 4th best player in the last 2 years. At number 3, you have Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant had a great playoff run this year. Most points ever scored in a Game 7 in the playoffs this year. Something that we should definitely not sweep under the table. Because Kevin Durant, as an offensive player, is great. But as in just like a floor raiser in general, like, yeah, he's not that great of a playmaker when it comes to like, he's not a top 5 playmaker. He's like a borderline top 10 playmaker. But it's like, even without the playmaking, his scoring is so elite and generational that he can take the Bucks to 7. And yes, I know that they were up 2-0 in that series, but then with these injured players, with COVID Harden, with hamstring Harden, whatever you want to call him, he was still taking this team to overtime in a Game 7. At number 2, we have LeBron James. Last year, LeBron James was the best player in the league. This year looks like he might have done it again if he didn't get hurt. I'm not going to hold it against you. I think Jokic was the clear MVP. But if you said LeBron could have won it if he stayed healthy, I would somewhat agree with you. I feel like Jokic would still have a step on him, though. But LeBron James, what is there not to say about this guy? In that playoff run in 2020, one thing we don't look at is his help defense. His help defense was amazing. That's one of the best, if not the best, like 2-way wing playoff runs ever. Because like he was facilitating at a great rate. Like, obviously was like the best playmaker in the league that season. He was also shooting like above 37% from 3. His percentages across the board were amazing. I tell you, if LeBron James was just an 80% free throw shooter, there would be some runs where he has like a 70% true shooting percentage. But just because he can't hit a free throw, it looks bad. But LeBron James was literally, in that playoff run, remarkable. And at number 1, we have Stephen Curry. This should be unanimous. Stephen Curry was obviously hurt last season. What I mean by last season is not 2021, but 2020. Do I need to explain myself here? One of the most efficient scorers ever? Yeah, I think he's the most efficient scorer ever, to me. Stephen Curry is obviously an elite three-point shooter. Yes, he lost in the playing game. People are really putting him down because he lost into a playing game when he played great in those games. But Stephen Curry is definitely, to me, the unanimous best player in the league for the past 2 seasons. Anyways, thank y'all for watching the video. Make sure to leave a like. And yeah, I'm a college student, and it'd be tough to put out videos. So make sure to leave a like, subscribe, do all that. And yeah, peace out.
I don't want your bitch, that's why I gave her back. It was boring and I do not be with that. Smoking on this tree, I eat with the cat. It be around me cause I don't trust a soul.